people, and welcome to Lew and Pat. This is our podcast where we talk about, well, basically anything.
And everything.
It's our no BS review on life.
Episode 2.
Now, you're probably wondering, episode 2, what happened to episode 1? The truth is, you'll probably never hear episode 1, or much of episode 1.
Yeah, we got a little bit too drunk and there's not much salvageable from it, so...
We recorded it on Anzac Day Eve, so we didn't have work the next day, and we made the mistake of drinking before we started recording.
But we're on episode 2 now, so let's do it.
Let's do it, and this is our first beer that we're having right now, so we're going in clear-minded.
Yep, Lou, what are we drinking?
Well, Pat, we've got tonight the Four Pines Brewing Company Pale Ale. Now, you and I, we both love our beer, we both love craft beer, but we don't know a whole lot about it.
Yep, and we're going to again give you, well, when I say again, you know what I mean. We're going to give you an unelegant review on it. Thank you. While we talk about anything and everything.
We actually described what we were going to be doing in the first podcast.
And you might hear that.
Yeah, we might put a bit to air at some point.
So, straight off the bat, you know what I did the other day?
What did you do?
I saw the new Avengers movie twice.
Why'd you go and see it twice?
Because it was a good movie, but by the second time I saw it, I have a bit of an I have a bit of an issue with the Marvel movies now. Before
you go on, I want to recall something. Was it year 11 where the first week that Avatar came out, you saw it 3 times in 3 days? Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
But you booked your tickets to all 3 sessions before you saw the first session.
I did.
So did you just assume it was going to be fantastic?
I had a very strong assumption of it.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a very immersive movie. And did you hear there was actually a thing called post-Avatar depression?
No.
Yeah, because James Cameron made the movie so immersive and the 3D was so good that people were actually getting depressed knowing that they could never go to that world.
Wow. Okay, well, sorry, back to the Avengers.
The Avengers. Okay, so the Marvel movies have a tradition of no consequence. Like, the bad guy might die, but the good guys, any good guy that dies, they bring back to life. Mm-hmm. So here's a big spoiler here. So many people have died in this movie, as far as Spider-Man even. Doctor Strange, Black Panther, all these people die. So anyone who hasn't seen it, well, too bad for you.
So Spider-Man dies. How does Spider-Man die?
Well, the big bad guy actually just clicked his finger and he dies. He was that powerful.
And do you see Spider-Man returning in the foreseeable future?
Absolutely, because what I love particularly about this movie is that all the other movies are centered around the superhero. They made this movie about the bad guy.
Okay.
So it was essentially a Thanos movie.
Yep.
And one thing that actually really annoyed me, and this isn't about the movie, this is what happened before the movie, and it brought me to South Park. There was 40 minutes of ads leading up to the movie.
And you know, the thing is I feel like ads are getting longer, but ticket prices for the films aren't exactly getting cheaper.
I know. And isn't the whole purpose of, like, Foxtel even, that you're paying to not have commercial TV, but now it's just extra content?
I think that the reality of today's society is you won't be able to escape ads and advertising, and no matter how much you pay, you will always see ads because they'll want you to be paying more for what you're already paying for.
I know, but it's just annoying because sometimes I just want to watch a movie and I don't want to be interrupted.
I'm really sorry, Pat, but we just don't have that luxury in today's society.
Yeah, I know. But 40 minutes of ads, and if you think about it, there was only about 3, maybe 4 trailers, and the average ad goes from 30 seconds to 1 minute.
I remember back in the days when you go to Hoyts. I used to go to Forest Hill back when I was a boy. I lived
Doncaster.
I lived in Donvale, but for some reason our dad liked to go to Forest Hill. Anyway, you'd go in, you'd get maybe 1 or 2 candy bar ads, and the rest would be for films.
I used to love it because, again, as you said, the candy bar ads, but they'd always have the trailers, and there'd maybe be 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know a movie sucks when you leave the cinema and say, how good was that trailer?
Now, before you go on, I just had a thought. So this is our second podcast, right? But we should probably introduce ourselves again, shouldn't we?
Let's go back to that.
Now, tell me about yourself, Pat. What do you do? Who are you? And why do you want to do this podcast?
Well, Lou, I was a fiber optics designer for the National Broadband Network, and I got made redundant, so I'm currently unemployed, enjoying the sweet taste of freedom, which I might say, it's not sweet, sorry, it is bitter. I am bored. But I play guitar, I love my movies, I am married to a Polish woman, and I like drinking craft beer.
Wow.
How about you, Lou?
Doesn't sound like a bad life when you say it like that.
Oh, no, I'm doing all right.
Do you think you'll get back into the fibre optics?
I'm waiting for a call up about a new job, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What do you do with yourself?
I work in the city. I work at a law firm, and I do banking and finance work.
That sounds thrilling.
It's not what I wanted to do with my life, I must say, but I just kind of fell into it, so I've stuck with it ever since.
Can I ask you one real question before we start talking crap again?
Sure.
What do you want to do with your life?
Well, I suppose studying law, I always want to do labour relations, employment sort of stuff. Someone gets dismissed unfairly.
Yeah.
And not just, a piece of shit who's lost their job because they're legitimately a shit worker, but, actually helping people out who should, be helped out. So one day I hope to get back into that.
Yep.
Otherwise, tell you what, if I could, I'd just play music for the rest of my life.
So that's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do, because as you know, at the moment I probably play live maybe 2-3 times a month.
Yep.
I'm in a couple of different bands that play covers around the city, playing drums, and I absolutely love it. And it's great to be paid to do what you love, but unfortunately...
it doesn't pay the bills. Did I tell you what my new hobby is at the moment?
Did you tell me on the first podcast,
I believe I did.
Okay, so... it was microbiology. What's the word?
Mycology.
Mycology. Now that's the one. Why don't you explain once again what mycology is and how you got into this?
It's the study of mushrooms and fungus, and I got in through the actual Joe Rogan podcast, listening to this mycologist Paul Stamets.
Okay.
If you haven't heard him, I know it will never sound interesting to try and convince someone that it's interesting, but have a listen to this podcast. It is amazing.
Okay.
Like, what these things can do is incredible. So I decided, fuck it, I'm going to grow some mushrooms. So now in my spare room, I've got shelves there growing mushrooms.
And let's just be clear here for those, those listening. We're not talking about the illegal psychedelics, are we?
No. Button mushrooms and oyster mushrooms.
Okay, fantastic. And so how long have you been growing them for?
About 3 weeks now.
3 weeks?
I've got 1 spawn bag of oyster, 2 fruiting bags, and a fruiting kit of button mushrooms.
Okay. Now, I've just curious as to how quick they actually grow. I've got a friend. Now, in his bathroom of his old place, it was in Croydon, it had carpet on the floor, right? One morning, he left it a bit damp the night before, woke up the next day, mushrooms about, and I kid you not, 4 inches, I've seen them, 4 inches tall sprouting out of his carpet overnight.
Well, you've actually got...
Is that something you can aspire to achieve?
Look, well, what I actually got warned about when, because I did a workshop on how to grow oyster mushrooms.
Where do you do a workshop for that? Is that like a Bunnings thing?
No.
Do they give you a sausage sizzle beforehand?
No, there's a website. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but I emailed these guys asking for help, which they redirected me to another one, which turned out a week later they were doing a workshop in Brunswick. So I went and attended that.
Doesn't surprise me it's in Brunswick.
Oh, no, hipsters everywhere. So many dreadlocks. But they actually told me that once your bag has been filled up with mycelium, which is what eventually grows the mushroom, you can just either cut the bag, spray it, and the mushrooms will sprout out. Take it out of the bag, put it in a bucket. But you need to keep it moist in there. So what people do, they put a towel on the bottom. But you need to make sure that is separated, because eventually it will colonize the towel, eat it, and then grow mushrooms off the towel.
Wow. Okay. And then can you eat those mushrooms from there?
You can eat those mushrooms from there.
Fascinating. So how far do you want to take this hobby? Because I remember you were telling me that when you were in Poland, you were in some forest and you picked a red one of those ones like that.
That wasn't actually in Poland. That was in Bright.
Okay.
Yes, Amanita muscaria. That is the Latin name. It is more recognizably the mushroom from Mario.
Okay.
And would you like me to tell you something interesting about it again?
Oh, feel free.
Yeah. Well, the story is from Siberia. They grow underneath pine trees. It gets so snowed in, reindeer eat them, and people can only climb in through that chimney. Okay. So it's the story of Santa is essentially where this originated from. But the more interesting one I find was shamanistic cultures. The shaman would eat the mushrooms, drink a lot of water, and then piss out, get the town people to drink the piss, and then they would actually hallucinate from that. And
that is just completely fucked up, drinking somebody else's mushroom piss.
But it's sterile and I like the taste.
So we've covered the mushrooms. What else are you doing at the moment?
Currently nothing. I'm trying to get myself into cooking. I don't like not doing anything.
Does your wife cook, Pat?
She's an amazing cook.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just she's at work at the moment, so I'm kind of being a house husband. I don't think it's for me. I really don't think it's for me.
Time to get back into the workforce then.
Yeah, and it's 4 days of being unemployed. I don't like it.
4 days.
4 days. And I got to go to the movies, have lunch with some people, and all I'm sitting there thinking is, I want to go to work.
Do you Tell me if it's just me, but going to the movies by yourself is literally one of the most enjoyable experiences you can have.
Because I can watch a movie without interruption. If it's a superhero movie, I don't need anybody going, "Who's that? Who's that? Oh, what's that mean?"
I'm that guy.
You're that guy.
I'm terrible with films.
But
I've been to the movies by myself once, and
What
it was
movie
so
was
enjoyable. It was Jurassic World. That's the third one, and I hadn't actually seen any of the
I'm going to stop you there. If you're going to say it, you got to do the story right. That is the fourth of the Jurassic Park movies.
That's the fourth. Okay, so there's Jurassic. There's the
Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3.
That's
Jurassic
right.
World.
Anyway, I hadn't seen any of the others before. Loved it. Absolutely loved Jurassic World, man. I couldn't believe that I'd missed out on that part of childhood. So as soon as I got home from the movies, I was in Queensland, I jumped straight on the interwebs and watched the first three. And I honestly reckon that Jurassic World was the best of the four.
Did you ever have irrational fears as a child?
Yes. It's funny you say that because Dad took us to go and see Jurassic Park 1 when we were kids.
Was it raptors?
No, it was at Forest Hill. As I said, that's where I used to go to the movies. And at Forest Hill, there was a pancake parlor. And as you know, the Mad Hatter was a character at the pancake parlor. And I was about 5 at the time. I don't know when the first one came out. And anyway, he was right outside the cinemas at Forest Hill. And I was scared shitless of him. Anyway, we went into the movies after Dad bought the tickets to see Jurassic Park. And after 5 minutes of previews, I was that scared that the Mad Hatter was going to enter the cinema and get me that Dad took me home.
So you weren't scared of any dinosaurs, you were scared of the Mad Hatter.
I ain't scared of no reptilians.
See, I was scared, so you still haven't seen the movie?
Which one?
The first Jurassic Park.
I have. I saw it on the internet in 2015.
Okay, so yes, the scene in the kitchen with the raptors.
Oh,
that scares the crap out of me now still.
Was it because you weren't sure of their culinary abilities?
More or less, yeah. Because I wasn't sure if I was on the menu or not, but it just scared me. I feel claustrophobic even now watching that scene.
Okay.
Yeah, but also another irrational fear of mine, quicksand.
Quicksand.
Were you ever scared of quicksand?
No, I can honestly tell you that of the things that got to me, quicksand was not one of them.
I used to think it was
just so far-fetched. Is it even a real thing?
I used to think it was going to be a bigger problem than it actually is.
And what sort of problem were you anticipating quicksand being? How was it going to impact your daily life, Pat?
My cousins lived on a farm and we used to go running around a bush and running through mud. I used to get scared I'd get swallowed up by it. I didn't know what quicksand looked like. I assumed it was just a big pile of sand that you'd sink into. But then I saw this movie Tarzan, back in the 90s, and a guy sunk into mud, so I realised, oh my God, it can be anywhere.
That seems inconceivable. But then again, me and the Mad Hatter,
yeah,
we were all stupid at one point, weren't we?
One more fear to show how much of a little pussy I am. Did you see the movie Junior?
Junior. Is that the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's pregnant?
Yeah.
Yep. Don't tell me you were scared of getting pregnant.
Well, no, but scared of getting other people pregnant. But I was scared of the dream scene where he gets his baby handed to him and it's got his face on it. Really? I ran out of the room screaming.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You probably want... We're at my house right now. We're at my mum's place right now. So, for those that care, I live with my mum. I'm 28 and still live with my mum. I moved out at one point because I was previously married. Not anymore. Thank fuck. Anyway, I moved back in with mum to save for a house, right? You're probably wondering where is she right now because it's a... What are we? It's a Thursday night and it's about 9 o'clock and she's ordinarily home.
Yeah, she should have been well done at the country chicken buffet.
She's currently overseas in Hong Kong. Anyway,
for real?
Last week, right? This is something that got me. Last week, I don't know if you know, I played a show at the Essendon bar in Essendon with one of the bands I'm in, and I knew I was going to be very, very strapped for time that day, getting home from work, loading up my car, and then heading off to the Essendon bar. Anyway, I thought I'd be able to save at least 15 minutes if I packed my car up, put it in the garage, and then took Mum's car to work, and then came home in Mum's car, and then just swapped over and went straight to the gig.
I feel like this is going to backfire on you.
I said to Mum, hey, I'd send her a message on Facebook. We've been talking. I said, do you mind if I take your car to work, and then it's a relatively new car. Take your car to work, and then I can do the swap. She sends back, I don't have a spare key. I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, that would be a great help if you had a spare key. It's a new car. Of course she's got a spare key. Girlfriend says to me the other day, Selena, she goes, you know what you should do, Lou? She goes, we should pick up your mum from the airport when she gets back this weekend because it'll be a nice way to, bring her back and everything. Send mum a message, say, Mum, Selena and I are going to pick you up from the airport. What time's your flight? She tells us, she goes, what car are you coming in? I said, oh, we're coming in my car. She goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, why, is that a problem? She's like, oh, you can take mine if you want. I said, I don't think you had a spare key. She goes, I do, it's behind the door.
Okay, I don't like that.
So I'm kind of undecided whether to go and pick her up still.
Yeah, no, she's catching a fucking cab.
Oh, fuck. You remind me, you got married last year in April. And you told me at the time that you were going to go back to Poland, as you have a Polish wife, and have a party in Poland, and that I was invited.
Yes.
Is that still happening?
We hope so. Like, we still will be going back to Poland, having a little bit of a reception there. It sounds like it's more or less going to be meeting our mates, but the idea is to actually take place in the south of Poland. Beautiful snow-capped mountains, just glacial lakes, so just clear water.
Yep.
And if you ever, the reason we want to do that is because you can get a 5-bedroom cabin for about 10 days for about maybe $1,500 in the mountains.
Obviously, you'll be paying for me, yeah?
Of course I'm going to do that. What are you talking about? Don't be silly. One thing, though, I think you're going to particularly love is the beer over there.
What sort of beer do they have over there? Cause
it's more lagers and that, but I know you're an IPA kind of guy. But
we discussed this at length 2 weeks ago.
I know, I get it. But the beer over there is different to what it is here.
For me, every European lager tastes the same. Unless you're drinking like a wheat beer or like a Guinness sort of stout style thing, every European lager has that same flavour. And it's not a bad flavour. It's just, to me, it's just... there's not a whole lot more you can do with it. Whereas if you go into pale ale or IPA territory or a saison or something,
they vary a hell of a lot more.
You've got a lot more, characteristics you can play with.
And drinking those 4 pints at the moment, I don't know if I'm sold on it, mate.
You're not? Is it a bit too fruity for you?
I don't know. It's got a bitterness behind it, or I can't distinguish it. It's that aftertaste that lingers on the back of your tongue right now. Citrus. Yeah.
Because that's why we're doing this ultimately.
Oh, look, we're going to try a new beer every single time. And look, I say if it comes to Australia Day, we go VB or draft.
And can I say, and this is gonna divide the audience, just keep it how it is.
What do you mean? Oh, the ingredients of VB?
No, January 26th. Just keep it where it is.
Oh my God, this is PC principle. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Aboriginals being oppressed and submissed.
We can't go that far. No, I'll have to edit that bit. No, we won't edit that out, okay? Because it proves a point that we want to make later in this podcast series when we have a guest on who is very, very politically correct and
very liberal,
and because of that, very oppressive. And we'll get to that when we get to that. But what I want to say about January 26th is, I don't have an opinion either way about whether it should, change or whether it should whatever. And what it represents, I'm not going to speak about that. I'm not going to say that either side has a valid or an invalid argument. All I want to say is, and this is something that I know that you feel quite strongly about, is that the reason a lot of white people, such as ourselves, have certain opinions on this whole thing is because the media outlets out there that are on social media platforms like Mamma Mia and all that sort of shit and BuzzFeed and
Mamma Mia.
I read an article about 6 months ago, and apparently in 2015 all of those social media news platforms were talking about how great Triple J's Hottest 100 on January 26th was. They were all going over the moon about how fucking good the countdown was. A year later, not even, they had done a total backflip, and because Triple J had proclaimed, because it likes to be quite progressive and good on it, I'm not going to have an opinion on that, because it proclaimed that it was no longer going to have that countdown on January 26th, because January 26th was a day that represented, obviously, Indigenous slaughter and all that sort of thing. All those news sites suddenly thought, hang on, we're going to jump on this fucking bandwagon, and we are going to condemn anybody and anything that wants to keep going on with this day. And Triple M, they got fucking caught up in it because they still wanted to do a countdown, and it became this big heated thing where people basically are feeling a certain way because these bullshit Facebook media things have told them to feel a certain way. Make up your own fucking mind, honestly.
Yeah, like just all I want is people say change the date, change the date, change the date. Okay, just tell me which one to change it to, and as long as there's a good reason, I'll just be like, cool, let's change Australia Day.
As long as we can have the day off work,
yeah,
it's fine.
And we get another 100 countdown.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I don't want to be PC police, but I'm afraid. Have you heard of this guy, Jordan Peterson?
No.
He's a clinical psychologist, and he's gotten very popular on YouTube now, like millions and millions of followers.
Yeah.
And I heard this one story that when he was working at Harvard, I think it was, someone said, we need to change the name of a flip chart. Mm-hmm. And he said, why? And they go, well, flip is a derogatory term for someone from the Philippines.
Oh.
So you're like, I think
that's just that's too far.
Yeah, I think a lot of these kind of things are very good ideas, and they're doing some good stuff, but it's going as far as a feminist saying the air conditioning in the office is sexist because it's based around a male's body temperature.
Actually, I read an article today on the train. I shit you not. Well, actually, I'll go back. I didn't read the article. I saw the clickbait about the article on Facebook. I didn't click it because I wanted to feel like I had the power of not clicking it. Anyway, it was this politician in the UK. She is arguing in Parliament for fines to be issued to men for masturbating because it is a crime against an unborn baby. And
I get the feeling she would be pro-choice as well.
Oh, yeah, well, exactly right. Exactly right. But what a dumb fucking idea.
Is she a Mormon?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I have an interesting story to tell you about this.
Yeah, go on.
You know how I went to the UK 2 years ago? That's actually where I met my lovely wife.
Only because you never fucking shut up about it.
Oh, yeah.
Go
on, I think it was day 4 or 5, I was walking around by myself. I got a little bit lonely. And I walked down Exhibition Lane where all the museums and everything were. And I saw that there was the Church of the Mormons there. And I thought, yes, because they had a sign out there saying free exhibition. So I walked in there. Nicest people in the world. They walk up to me. Oh, hey, how's your day going? How's everything? Smiling, shook my hand, got gathered around by a few of them. Do you know anything about Mormonism? And I just started thinking about the lyrics of the All-American Prophet from the Book of Mormon musical.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, okay, so it was 1823, Rochester, New York. Joseph Smith was approached by the angel Moroni. And I was saying just the lyrics. I was just talking them out. And their response was, wow, you know so much about this.
You know what I love? And this is a beautiful thing. And this is why I actually have a lot of respect for the Mormons. When the Book of Mormon came out, the musical, do you know that... So before it came out, I should say, people said to Trey Parker and Matt Stone, are you worried that the Mormons will not like this? And they said, nah, they won't mind. They're cool. Yeah. Anyway, the musical came out. Not too long later, the Church of the Mormons had purchased advertising space in the program for the Book of Mormon, and their ad said, you've now seen the musical, read the book. How good is that? That is a beautiful thing that a religion can take that in a positive, in good spirits, play along with the joke and say, look, we respect this musical, having a bit of fun, but if you actually want to read about it, feel free to come to our church and have a read.
See, that again...
That's a good religion.
That is a good religion. Don't get me wrong, their story is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody spoke like that. But they are the nicest people on the planet.
They're nicer than Catholics.
They're nicer than Muslims.
Actually, they're probably the nicest religion.
Or Buddhists.
Yeah, no, they're pretty nice.
But, imagine doing like Dianetics, the musical.
Wow. But you're a Louis Theroux fan, aren't you?
Yeah. I didn't like his last documentary, though.
Which one was that one?
I can't remember the exact name on it, but...
He's put out a few recently. Anyway, have you seen his Scientology film?
It's not the... what was it called again?
You'd know if you had, because it's called My Scientology Movie.
I think that was the one I watched. So there's a better one out there.
Oh, there's plenty of better ones out there.
Yeah.
But either way, it just sort of showed that if you try and lampoon Scientology... you will not get away with it without them trailing you, them, recording your every movement, intimidating you. So, and that's a lot of fun, and it provides for an interesting commentary on the church, but Yeah, good luck making a musical and having it on Broadway about Scientology.
Oh, that would be amazing because it's a space opera. Like you
Yeah.
could so easily make it like Mars Attacks 2.
Yeah. It's funny you say Mars Attacks. The other day in the car on the way home from the station, I said to my girlfriend, I said, I really want to watch Mars Attacks again.
The Tim Burton one.
No, God, no, the original.
Ah, okay, yep.
Tim Burton's shithouse.
He is now. He used to be good.
I found that Tim Burton, he was fantastic, and then right up until the point where it sort of became apparent that, okay, Johnny Depp's great, but he's not great in everything, and your style is great, but don't try and make your style into every fucking movie. And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a good film beforehand. You did not need to remake Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim.
Nah, the last.
Honestly, did you like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Tim Burton?
Oh God, no! I've seen it. I think I've seen it twice. I think, but I think I only watched it again just because I thought, hey, that guy from that movie is the Oompa Loompa. I'm gonna watch that movie again and see if it's any good.
Well, it's once again, it's funny you say that because I thought it was shithouse, but I've only watched it again recently because I worked out through Wikipedia that the actor in The Good Doctor is the guy that plays Charlie as a child.
But Johnny Depp has gone off the rails. I don't like that guy anymore. I used to think he was great up until maybe the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But what's the last good movie Johnny Depp did?
Secret Window was great.
That was before Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay. What else has he done?
Exactly. Nobody cares about him anymore. He's done.
No, he must have been in something. When he had a cameo in 21 Jump Street?
Jump Street, yes.
Was that after Pirates of the Caribbean 2?
Yeah.
That was a great film.
That was a great film, but like any movie that he is a lead in now, it sucks. Like I heard that, Midnight Express to blah, blah, blah. Like a recent one was pretty good, but I think he's just done. Like he just kept playing Jack Sparrow and he spent too much time with Tim Burton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem is that they had a winning formula and then they overused it.
Yeah.
And it just became a thing where it was like, oh, great, another Tim Burton film. Like, they're all the same.
I think the best Tim Burton movie he's done in a very long time, was in 2003, the movie Big Fish. And there was no Johnny Depp in it.
Was it Tim Burton that did Lemony Snicket's?
No, that wasn't actually, but you can definitely see the influence there.
Yeah, because I didn't like that.
You didn't?
No, I didn't like it. No, I couldn't deal with it.
Oh.
Maybe that's because I don't like Jim Carrey.
You don't like Jim Carrey. Did you see that interview with Jim Carrey?
The one on the red carpet?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a weird guy, man. But you could sort of see right before then, he was on... You like Seinfeld?
Love it.
Have you seen Jerry
Love
Seinfeld? Love it. Have you seen Jerry Seinfeld's web series, which is now a Netflix series, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
I haven't actually watched it, no.
You ought to. Watch it, especially like episodes with Barack Obama or like the cats like that, man. Like, it's sick. It's like, you really get a good insight into what they're like when they have coffee. Anyway, no, it's a great series nonetheless.
I'm about to have my third beer now.
Fantastic. I'm still on the second. Jim Carrey was on that show in about 2015, I want to say, 2016, and you could see he was starting to go weird.
See,
he was starting to go downhill in terms of, in his mind thinking that nothing in the world actually is real.
Well, this is a good point now, because this is that point where you and I actually differ. You say he's going weird, but I believe he's actually opening his eyes.
No.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, have you heard of the comedian Bill Hicks?
I've heard of him, but I've actually never watched him.
He is amazing. Like, he died in the early 90s, and I think he was like 35 years old.
How did he die?
Cancer.
Oh,
there's a happy point of the day. But he had this line, and he was just talking about people taking acid, and he goes, I want to hear a positive drug story. I want to hear this on the news. Tonight, a young man on acid realized that all matter is just energy condensed to a slow vibration. We are all just one consciousness experiencing itself. Subjectively, there is no such thing as death. Life is just a dream, and we are all the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather. That is actually kind of true in a sense, because everything is actually a vibration, and we are just conscious matter.
Well, at the end of the day, everything we see is just a reflection of light.
Yep.
Wow. Well,
and if you were to take away your five senses, is the universe real?
You've got more than five senses, Pat.
Okay, so what are
Just because Bruce Willis was in that film, The Sixth Sense, doesn't mean that you don't have more than five senses.
So you got sight, you got hearing, you got touch, you got taste, and you got smell. What else is there?
Oh, there's like breathing and shit. There's a couple of other ones. There's
But that's not a sense.
having body hair. That's a sense.
That's
Um,
no, but your
being-
body hair is made for the purpose of feel, touch.
Oh, you got more senses than that. You've got
You're just talking about
having what's it called when like a deja vu? That's a sense.
No, that's just memory. That's not a sense.
Love's a sense.
I know what you're doing.
I
now.
love my puppy. She's great.
Yeah, you're taking the piss now.
No, honestly, you have more than 5 senses.
No, I'm talking like senses. Like, you've got emotions, you got like anything like that, but I'm talking senses. If you take away those,
Yep.
what exists?
Well, it's that I went to Melbourne Comedy Festival. Was in town a couple of weeks ago, and my girlfriend and we went to 4 different shows. We saw Daniel Connell, who was phenomenal, and he's the one I want to talk about here. We saw Tommy Little. He was great. Really liked Tommy Little. We saw Tom and Ollie, the presenters on Triple M, and we also had tickets to go and see Nick Cody, but we ended up also going to a restaurant that night and staying at the restaurant too late, so we missed Nick Cody.
I don't think I've heard of any of these comedians.
You ought to. Anyway, Daniel Connell, he did this bit in his act where he basically he was speaking for a long time about this, that, and Elon Musk being so amazing, and then he touched on the fact that Elon Musk thinks that everybody in 2018 is living in a simulation created by people in the year 2050 or something to see what humans would do back now so they could advance life in 2050.
I saw that interview.
And it's like, what a fucking idiot.
But that's a true thing. Like, no, it's not saying that is actually true, but it's actually to do, what is it, quantum physics.
But that's a fucking stupid thing to say, because it's like, well...
But what do you reckon about the whole thing that time is actually working in a loop and it's not linear?
Well, what about that the Earth is flat, Pat? Go on. Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, like my argument towards these things, look, I believe the Earth is round, but I don't say I'm 100% sure. I say I'm 99.99999% sure the Earth is round. The only way I am not sure about it is because I haven't been up there looking down.
Yeah, and I suppose if everybody got the opportunity to go up and look down, then you would know for sure.
I suppose this is a lot of what quantum physics is about, is what can exist, like what can be impossible can be possible. And we should do a whole episode based on this kind of stuff and not just kind of shovel over it right now. So
there's a lot going on that we don't know, that we're just purely trusting and having faith in.
Yep, and this
because when you think about it, having faith and trust in science and being told this shit is no different whatsoever
than believing in God.
Exactly right.
It's just such a vast universe, mate. There was a philosopher, and he just he was a philosopher, scientist, and he said, "There's no it's safe to believe in God, because if you believe in God and He is real, you'll go to heaven, and if you don't believe in God and He is real, you go to hell." So he goes, "I'd rather believe in Him and do with what I will, and then not believe in Him." And
it's funny you say that. My brother's girlfriend, her mum is Filipino, and
oh shit! I shouldn't have said that flip chart thing before.
She's not going to listen. She's not going to listen. None of those people will listen to this.
Oh no! Go on.
Anyway, she's obviously being Filipino. They're all very, very Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, not only is she Catholic though, she's very, very spiritual. And she does all these spiritual rituals and stuff and whatever. And my brother's girlfriend once said, "Mum, we're really Catholic. You can't do the spiritual stuff and the Catholic stuff." You know what her mum's response was?
What?
"Well, one of them must work. If one of them fails, the other one will work. The afterlife will be good because at least I'm following both of them."
I'd say I'm definitely a very spiritual person. That's kind of something that's come upon me a lot more recently than anything else. Just as I said, I work doing fiber optics, and my whole day was spent listening to documentaries, listening to lectures, speeches, podcasts, anything like that. And it can really change your view on things. And that's why I said I don't believe that Jim Carrey's lost his mind. I believe he has opened his eyes.
Some of the stuff he says has merit, and he's a great painter. Yeah. But at the same time, he goes over the top. Where
he's leaning towards nihilism.
There are points of what he says when he's like, "I thought I'd come along to the thing that means the least in the entire world," or whatever he says. He goes, this is like the most stupid thing that means nothing in the world. like when he's talking about being in a fashion show.
Yeah,
and
icons,
that's true.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's completely true. But then the fact that he's like, nothing around us exists. It's like, come on, Jim.
Again, like, it's just, well, as you said about Elon Musk before, prove it. Like, and I suppose that's the same with God. It's the same with anything. Is that nothing can be proven or everything can be proven. It's just...
But everything has to exist in some regard. None of this can just not exist, but for us to have the consciousness that it's going on.
But I suppose if you were to look at the concept of making AI...
Anyway, we're coming to the end of our show now. And if you're still listening, thank you. This was podcast number 2. And just to reward anybody who is still listening to podcast number 2, we're going to play you a bit of podcast number 1.
I had this pizza in Bright.
Oh, now, this is going to seem set up, but I do not know the story. But all I know is that Pat, when he was in Bright, he was fed a certain pizza because, Pat likes to express his masculinity in terms of how much chili he can handle. And occasionally people will test his boundaries. And occasionally Pat will buckle.
As Lew here stated, he didn't know the story, so it went nothing like that.
Go on, Pat, go on.
Alright, so we went to this pizza place, me and my lovely wife, and I just straight away saw this sign saying, okay, so if you can eat the volcano pizza, you get 4 large pizzas.
So naturally, Pat, being a fucking idiot, has gone, I'm going to eat this.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. That is exactly what actually happened.
Thanks for tuning in to Lew and Pat, and we'll be back next time.